What's up everyone, we're at the last part of the Modern Farmhouse build out. That means we have all work completed, all inspections have passed, and the final documents are signed. We still have a ton of projects to complete, such as the office behind me where I tore into our brand new house already, but this video is going to focus on the final touches prior to move-in. In the previous videos, we went over everything up to installation. We dove into all utilities and what you need to complete there. And now we are moved in. So this video is going to fill in the gaps between what happens when you're done with installation all the way up until your move-in date. So after installation, the next thing is drywall. Since we have a couple 2-story rooms, they brought in a bunch of scaffolding and that made it easy for them to knock out. As the drywall is being hung, we'll also cut out anything. This includes outlets, lights, and switches. Also includes anything you add extra, such as the speakers or the Ethernet port. The drywall then gets mud to cover any screws or seams, and then it gets sanded down for a smooth surface that's paintable. The garage and basement also get the drywall, mud, and sanding, but this is where the process ends for them. Standard does not include painting the basement or painting the garage, and we did not go for the upcharge on that either. We decided we would do it ourselves whenever the time comes. The ceilings are also finished at this point. Ceilings don't get painted, they are textured ceilings, and they are left with that texture without paint. Now after all the mud is dry, painting can begin. This is going to start with the primer coat, which is the main coat that goes over all the walls. It doesn't cover every piece, but it does cover the majority of the walls, and specifically around where the trim will go, because that's going to be our next step. The closet and interior doors were also painted at this point. They weren't hung up yet, but they were painted. Now before we get to finish paint, there are a couple steps in between, one of which being the kitchen. This will also include the bathrooms. This is where your cabinets are hung and your countertop is placed. This is also where they'll install the island if you have an island. After the cabinets, trim is up next, and I feel like this is where the house actually starts to come together and look like a real house. They put trim around the windowsill. They also put trim around the cabinets, doors, and where the floor meets the walls. Once trim is done, the next coat of paint is laid. This covers all the interior walls of the house. This will cover the handrails, anything that needs stained besides the steps or any flooring. What this will not cover is the exterior doors. Those are one of the last things to get painted. After paint, we have final plumbing and final electric. These are all the finishing touches. So for electric, this is going to be your switch, your outlets, your covers, your lights, and also anything you agreed with the electrician that you would handle. So in our case, we were going to install the floodlights, so we had to come in after the electrician was done, but before the electrical inspection happened. So we had about a 2-day window to get in because we wanted the process to move along quickly. If we were okay with waiting, we could have took some additional time to get all of that installed. Final plumbing will cover hooking up anything to exterior spigots, interior spigots, bathroom sinks, kitchen sinks. All water lines will be complete once the final plumbing is done. Flooring is the next step. This covers the carpet, the hardwood, laminate, stair tread. Anything that's going to be below your feet will be installed in this step. At this point, your house basically looks finished. There is final touch-ups, final paints to fix any dents and dings. But at this point, you do the building walkthrough or the punch list walkthrough with the field manager. I want to give a shout out to Wayne Holmes and Chris, our field manager, because they came with their own laundry list of things they wanted the contractors to fix. Stuff that I would have never noticed when walking through the house. Yes, I probably would have noticed after weeks of living there, which is covered by a warranty. So even if you go through this process with Wayne Homes or most custom home builders, if you find issues after the fact, they're covered for a certain amount of time that you can tell them about and report these issues. Once you're done with the punch list, that will determine what crews come out. For our house, we only needed paint and trim to come back out, painting the exterior doors, a couple other pieces, and some touch-up paint in the house. There wasn't really anything major that needed fixed at this point. Now that all work is done, inspections can start. The inspections are going to change depending on what area you live in, but for our area, it was a blower door test, so that's where they test that your house is sealed up well enough. There was the final electrical inspection. There was the building inspection overall, and then there was something the bank had to do, come out and look at it. The inspections took us about a week after the building was finished, and then we were able to move in. On move-in day, at least for Wayne Homes, it's just you and the field manager. You get to the house, you walk through maintenance that needs done on any of the utilities, you walk through anything else that couldn't be fixed, and they'll give you a date of when it will be fixed. An example of that was we had a rip in one of our screens. They didn't have another one on hand, so it'll be shipped to our house and arriving sometime next week. They'll hand over the keys. You'll sign a couple pages. If you've ever bought a new house, it is nothing like that because you already signed a lot of that stuff at the beginning. I think they needed 2 signatures. It was a very easy process, and then from that point forward, It's your house. You can start unloading everything in the house and fully move in. So this is a short video covering steps between installation and move-in. There's not a lot that you as the homeowner need to do in these steps. We are going to have future videos coming out around this, covering out cost, must-have upgrades, and then some regrets. So if you're interested in that, follow along. But either way, on to the next project for me.